Hey guys, welcome to my very first video tutorial. My name is Chris and I started Pixie Prism about 8.5 years ago. I'm a graphic designer, but I've been a landscape photographer for about 15 years, and I'm always getting questions on how I edit my photos. And today I want to show you how to create a really beautiful orange and teal look that's very popular these days. This is a great look for beach, autumn, late afternoon, sunset photos. A lot of influencers are using this, and I think it's about time you learn how to do it too. I'm going to show you how to do this in Lightroom Classic and Lightroom Mobile. The latter lacks the camera calibration module that I think in this look is really essential, but I want to show you how to do it in both versions of this software in case you don't have access to one or the other. Let's get going. Alright, so this is Lightroom Classic, and I'm going to show you how to create the orange and teal look first in this application. As you can see, I've got 3 photos here. This is the image I adjusted in Lightroom Mobile. This is the one I created here in Lightroom Classic, and this is the original. So let's get going. First thing I want to do is bring the exposure down just a little bit. Contrast, I'm going to decrease a little bit too. We're going to bring the highlights up and the shadows too. Bring down the whites so it's not so bright, and bring up the blacks. Actually, I'm not going to touch the clarity, but I will adjust the dehaze, bring it up to something like, I don't know, 15. We'll bring the vibrance up, bringing up the least saturated colors, and saturation down, and that decreases all the saturation of all the colors. So we're going to introduce an S curve into the tone curve here. So I'm going to add a few points here, and we'll adjust the blacks first, bring those up just a little bit, and then start making the S. Yeah, that really brings those whites, brightens everything nicely. Then I'll additionally bring down the whites at the very top to introduce a fade there, just a slight fade. And at this point, I usually work from the top to the bottom. I'm going to jump down to the camera calibration module and start tinkering with these colors. This is what I was explaining is not in the Lightroom mobile version, and for the orange and teal look, I feel like using the camera calibration is really important. It gives, in my opinion, a better result. And so we'll go ahead and start with the shadows and bring the magenta up just a little bit. Actually, you don't see it right now, but I'm going to bring it up to about 35. And then let's adjust the red hue a little bit more towards the orange. And then we'll add some saturation. A little bit, maybe 10. And we definitely want to skew the green hue more towards the teal. And add a little, well, let's add a significant amount of saturation. And then let's really crank out the teals and the blue hue and bring those down to like, I don't know, -75, and bring up the saturation there. That's way too much. Maybe something like 20. Alright. While I'm down here, I'm going to remove chromatic aberration and enable lens corrections for my Sony lens. And then we'll go ahead and start adjusting the HSL sliders. And so we want to bring the green more towards the teal. And we actually, one of the things I like to do is not let the sky get too teal. And so I want to bring the blues back just a little bit. And then in terms of saturation, we definitely want to crank up a little bit of the red, the orange, the yellows I'm gonna leave alone. The greens I'm gonna bring up just a little bit due to the mountains in the back. The aquas, yes, we're definitely gonna want to pump those guys up. And the blues as well. Maybe that looks okay. In terms of the luminance, I want to bring the sand up, brighten that up just a little bit. So I think that would be with the orange and the yellow. Bring them down just a little. And so I think this is pretty good. And this is how I created the orange and teal look within Lightroom Classic. Alright, so now we're going to be editing this photo in Lightroom Mobile on my iPad. And so first thing is I like to go into Optics, remove chromatic aberration, and enable lens corrections. Alright, so let's jump into the light section. Let's go ahead and bring a little bit of contrast in here. Bring down the highlights, bring up the shadows, not too much. Let's bring down the whites, and then leave the blacks alone. We'll go into the tone curves and create a little bit more subdued S-curve versus what we did before. So we'll add some points and bring up the blacks just a bit. And bring down the whitest whites. You can always adjust this later. Next we'll go into the color. I definitely want to pump up the vibrance a little bit. Actually, something maybe towards 40. And then bring up the saturation. Let's go into the actual HSL sliders, or the color mix is what they call it here. And for all these adjustments, we're going to be a lot more dramatic than we were in the previous section of this tutorial in Lightroom Classic, just because we don't have the camera calibration aiding us in adjusting the colors. So we'll bring the hue up. So let's bring the red up significantly. Let's go ahead and just decrease the luminance though a little bit. Let's go into the oranges and let's really bring up the saturation there. The luminance, let's leave that alone for now. The yellows, we really want to skew more towards the orange. Let's bring that saturation down just a little bit. And then the luminance can go down just a little bit too. In the greens, we're going to go ahead and really skew these more towards teal. There's a big difference in the water there. Let's bring up the saturation just a tad. And then the luminance, we're going to go ahead and bring up as well. For the aquas, let's go ahead and really enhance the blues. And bring that saturation up significantly. Luminance just maybe towards 10 or something. And the blues, we really want to bring closer towards the teal. Not too much. You see how it's affecting the upper right edge of the sky. Let's just bring it down a little bit and bring up the saturation there. And bring the luminance down just a bit. And we don't have to worry about the purple or magenta, because there's really not much. Well, there's a little bit of purple, but I'm not too worried about it. And then as for effects, let's go ahead and bring up the clarity just a little bit. Let's go ahead and dehaze this guy. And I think this is looking pretty good. The orange and teal look in general looks really, really beautiful on beaches, skin tones, anything in the late afternoon. This is my dog. It's orange. It really looks good on him too. Leaves, contrast, flowers. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and I'd love to see what you guys come up with, and hopefully I'm providing you with a tool set where you can really own the orange and teal look and experiment on your own. So that's pretty much it. Thanks again for watching. If you like what you saw, drop me a like, subscribe, follow me on Instagram. My handle's Photos by Pixie Prism. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos. Bye.